Shabbat Shalom. This is really going to be now a true test of name that tune. Harry Truman, Doris Day, Red China, Johnny Ray, South Pacific, Walter Winchell, Joe DiMaggio. And I asked that question of what is this? This is Billy Joel's We Didn't Start the Fire. It goes on listing every moment of service and it keeps going. I mean, it was stanza after stanza. Joe McCarthy, Richard Nixon, Studebaker Television, North Korea, South Korea, Marilyn Monroe, Rosenberg's H-bomb, Sugar Ray Panmunjom, Brando, The King and I, The Catcher in the Rye, Eisenhower vaccine, England's got a new queen, Marciano Liberace, Santayana, goodbye. We didn't start the fire. It was always burning since the world's been turning. We didn't start the fire. Now, I share that with you because I feel like it's become like the refrain of daily conversations. Staff meetings where we point at each other and tell each other that you are bumming me out or you are raining on my parade. What was, I don't remember what I'm sure Mindy will now. I was boycotting the staff meeting as we were talking this stuff. Dinner conversations, right? Phone calls and Zoom calls, I'm sure, because it feels like we are developing our own list of multiple stanzas that we could add to We Didn't Start the Fire. I started. Surfside, Afghanistan, Ben and Jerry's Hamas rockets. Drought and deluge in Arizona, California wildfires. Germany underwater mass shootings, Capitol riots. Oh yeah, massive pandemic, claiming millions of lives just when we think it's safe. I'm not writing song lyrics very well, I get it, but I think you understand my list. And then I kept going with my list because then there's Yemen and Haiti and Cuba and Ethiopia at Lebanon. And don't forget so many positive COVID tests at the Olympics. Just to name, how many of you feel like that's like a regular daily conversation that you've been having? And every time you're like, oh, here we are at the end of the pandemic, right? Suddenly we find ourselves seeing more and more alarming news and masks are going back on and we are social physical distancing and Israel is posting that, oh yeah, the Pfizer vaccine isn't quite as strong against the Delta variant as we thought. That was a news clip from earlier in the day. It is still 89% protective against hospitalization and serious illness, but only 40% against getting it. Hence the masks. Sometimes I feel like Moses here at the beginning of our Torah portion for this Shabbat of Vaetchanan. And I love the word Vaetchanan. It has to do with Chanun, with the word for grace, where Moses says to God, he pleads with God, asking for God's grace, let me go into the land. Please, 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 let me go into the land. And there's all sorts of commentary about him using that word of Vaetchanan, of offering that plea. I feel like we're kind of there, right? We're like, let us go into the land. Let the pandemic be over. Let all of this craziness and service, let it end. Let us go in the end. Promised land, Shalom, angels swing, choirs sing, and we all eat lots of, we sit under vine and fig, milk, land flowing with milk and honey. I'm kind of ready for it, like Moses. And yet, God hears Moses' plea and says, no, life doesn't work that way. Life is finite. You have to die in the wilderness. New generation has to go. You just have to suffer through it. That's life. And then something interesting happens. Moses turns around and doesn't just say, how dare you, God, you're awful, God, doesn't curl up in a little ball, doesn't go away, doesn't leave the poor kids, the children of Israel, to fend for themselves. No, he busts out into song, well, sort of song. We'll discuss, you could discuss with our cantors of where the melody comes from, but you all know the song and you all know the melody. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. I ask you that you're here, close your eyes, really open your ears, listen to our voices kind of resonating together. As cantors, feel free to sing along. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Part of me hopes as you hear that, listening to it, and some of it's, listen, Israel, we are connected to something that is eternal, something that's transcendent, something where we are part of this incredible unity. Part of it's the ideology and theology. In the midst of all of this maelstrom of stuff going on, remember, Israel, you're part of this. And part of it is in the midst of the news and the chime of the alerts and the fist banging and the angry rhetoric, there's something powerful. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. It's the kind of song, it's the kind of melody that stops you, forces you to take that deep cleansing breath, forces you not only to sing, but to listen, to find that unity or place of calm, that eye of the storm, whether you're listening to it or feeling it. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. So you hear that song. There's one more layer I add. It's beautiful, very simple Midrash. It's the story of two guys in a rowboat. Raise your hand if you've heard the story of the two guys in the rowboat before. Charlie has heard it. Jane has heard it. Two guys are sitting in a rowboat. One of them takes out a drill and starts drilling underneath his seat. The other guy looks at him and he says, "Why are you drilling through the bottom of the boat?" First guy looks at him and says, "Oh, don't worry, it's under my seat." Simple Midrash, Talmudic story. It's also a Shema Yisrael. Stop for just a minute, be sitting in that boat. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Never before have I realized the response to the first guy. Never really understood how, because my first response is exasperation. When somebody is creating, doing damage in our world, when it's human action doing the tsuris, whether it's cruelty, whether it's demonization, whether it's prejudice, all of the different things humans can do to each other, that's the drilling under the boat. That's the damage we cause without needing to cause it. I've never really known. I mean, the guy sits in the boat and he says, "Don't worry, I'm drilling under my seat," and I'm kind of like, "Oi," and throw up my hands. What if part of the response is Shema Yisrael? What is it saying? Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Very simply, very calmly, looking at the other human being as they bring Yetzer Hara, evil inclination, into the world, as they try not just to swamp themselves, but end up swamping everybody. we look at them and say, we are a unity. What happens to you resonates and impacts me. We're all part of one collective. What an incredible, simple, and powerful response. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Yes, as you go through your life, that might be under your seat, but we're in the boat together. We're all humans on this planet together. But as I did that list, it's not all human cause service. So much of what we're seeing as challenges in our world is stuff that is so beyond human control. It is stuff that happens. Our bodies fail us. There is stuff in weather and environment stuff. Even with climate change, there's plenty of stuff that happens that we have no control over. And I realized that even in those words, that melody, that act, Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Because the scenario in the boat might be a little different. Might not be two guys sitting in a boat and one takes out a drill and starts drilling. It might be two people in a boat, but water starts to come into the boat. The sea is afraid, is panicking. And the other can offer simple words. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Not, oh, I can fix it, I'll save you. But listen, Israel, Adonai is our God. Adonai is one. We're part of a unity. We're a part of a collective. We're in this boat together. And if we work together, if we team up and partner, if we are there for each other, we can see ourselves through the rough seas, through the challenges of life. The boat won't swamp. We won't get lost. We will get to where we're supposed to be. And with that, in that sense of support, just think about that for a minute. When we're sitting in those conversations, when full of stress and worry and concern, how powerful it is just to look at the other person and say, I am there with you and for you, and we can do it together. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. As Moses sang to the children of Israel, as they sang to him, may we find ways to bring that calm, that unity, that sense that we're all in this together and we can do it together into our world. Amen. Shabbat Shalom.